All right, welcome everybody. Good afternoon. It's the day after or the hour after the NHL trade deadline. Busy things, busy NHL teams, and busy Flames as well. What a day it has been. Not so much action for the Flames yet, but definitely the other teams struck into action, including the latest one from Vegas Golden Knights. One surprise. We'll talk about that and much more here as we go. But welcome everybody on board. Just a few reminders, our YouTube live chat is open. So if you want to come and ask questions, thoughts, give us your reactions on the trades that took place so far. Craig Conroy has traded away five unrestricted free agents this season. We also had a trade take place within the Calgary Flames this afternoon. So come talk about with us. And our Twitter line is also open at CGY underscore Anand. Last show, we had almost 119 viewers all across the stream. Let's see if we can get that more. It would be happy to do so. I see already 20 viewers on our Twitter stream already, so welcome aboard. And we are welcoming a special guest as well this afternoon. He's back from Toronto. Jer is joining us to talk about the Flames. So, Jer, good afternoon. How is it in Toronto? How are you today?
Oh, it's sunny and nice in Toronto. As you know, we are a couple of hours ahead, so the sun is setting now. But yeah, I'm doing well. Pumped for the trade deadline and pumped to kind of hash it all out with you tonight.
All right, so let's talk with the general trade deadline first. We saw a few trades come down just right after the NHL official trade deadline, and that is because few general managers were waiting on the phone lines to get it through the NHL league to get approval. And we are getting few clarifications as well, all on that soon. But right now, the first latest news, if we were talking Flames wise, Jacob Pelche and Mac Coronato has been assigned to the Wranglers, but they will be with the NHL roster tomorrow. This is just so they can be part of the playoff team if the AHL Wranglers, when the AHL Wranglers are in playoffs, so they will have the chance to either keep them in the Flames or send them to AHL to add support. So that's something we should keep an eye out for tomorrow as well, whether to see if Coronato and Jacob Pelche will be in the lineup. Obviously, Jacob Pelche is coming from an injury, and Mac Coronato is coming off. From AHL time, he still needs a bit of NHL time. He did have a good night though. When they played on Thursday against the Tampa Bay Lightning, he did put up a couple points, I believe. So he looked fantastic, but he still needs some development time. We'll give that to him as he needs. But Jer will segue to you. What do you think has been the biggest trade that a team has made today, whether it be Flames or NHL? What would you flag it as the biggest trade that has happened this afternoon?
Okay, well, you teased it in the intro, and I don't want to say it because I think you might be holding it for later, but I think the team was Vegas. Can I say it, Anand?
Yeah, of course. That's why I
Okay,
segued
so
it to you. Yeah.
it's one of those ones that came in after the 2 p.m. Eastern deadline, and that was Thomas Hurdle, the captain of the San Jose Sharks, traded to the Vegas Golden Knights. That's massive. I really didn't expect that. I don't think a lot of people did. We never quite heard about it from any of the major media outlets that he was on the move or kind of a potential trade target. But that's got to be massive. Number one, he's the team captain. He really is the heart and soul of that team, other than maybe Logan Couture. But he's the best player on that team as well. And to go to Vegas and to play behind Jack Eichel as the number two center, it's game changing for them. Another big trade, Hannafin to Vegas. So for them to acquire Hurdle and Hannafin, they're obviously loading up and they want that back to back Stanley Cup. So yeah, definitely Hurdle. I would say Vegas as a whole made the biggest splash. Hurdle was the biggest trade, but Vegas was the biggest team, which obviously does involve the Flames with Hannafin from, I believe it was 2 days ago that went down.
Yeah, 2 days ago, Wednesday I actually predicted we might see a Wednesday trade with no Hannafin, and that was right. I just was maybe a little off with the timing. I said 6:30, but I think Ryan Leslie first announced he might be headed to Vegas at 4:30 p.m. Calgary time,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so we have few questions already. The first question is thoughts on the Gunsel trade. I didn't follow that too much, but I'm gonna get the details here. I know
I have
that.
it here for you if you'd like.
Yeah, please. I've been trying to keep track in a Word document, but I have lost a few things. I may not be updated. So, Jer, if
So
you want to segue and talk about the
yeah,
Gunsel
so
trade.
the Gensel trade was probably the second biggest trade, and Gensel was the kind of biggest talked about name throughout the week, and basically all year his name's been in trade rumors. But to sum it up, Jake Gensel, who is a very talented left winger, power play guy, he got traded from Pittsburgh to Carolina, along with Ty Smith, a defenseman. You might not know Ty Smith, but in 2018 he was a first round draft pick, so he had big upside and a lot of promise back then. But this since then he's kind of maybe not lived up to expectations, so he's thrown in. Going the other way in exchange for Gensel and Ty Smith was Michael Bunting, former Toronto Maple Leaf, Ville Koivunen, Vasily Ponomarev, Cruz Lucius, which is my favorite name in the NHL, Cruz Lucius, a conditional 2024 first round pick and a conditional 2024 fifth round pick. They all go back to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh does retain 25% of Gensel's salary. That's massive for Carolina. They get their first line left winger. Carolina to me has always been a team of good forwards with Aho, Svechnikov, even Jordan Stahl is solid in the third line there. Um, they have Martin Necas. They did bring in Bunting this year to try to play in that top six. I guess it didn't quite work out for them, but for them to get Jake Gensel, that was kind of the crown jewel of the entire deadline. And I think it's going to make them a lot better. I'll just sneak in one more fact about Carolina is they've lost in the second or third round 5 years in a row now. And so they really haven't broken through to the Stanley Cup final despite having a really good team. So I think this is their move to try to break that glass ceiling, break that barrier to try to make a cup final this year and then hopefully win the cup. That's what they want to do, right? So yeah, that was a massive trade. And it kind of does. It's unfortunate for Pittsburgh, for Sidney Crosby, one of my favorite players, where he's seeing all of his good players around him be traded away and he doesn't have a lot left. And you got to wonder, is Pittsburgh, they're not quite rebuilding, but what are they doing? They're not making the playoffs. They're getting rid of the top three, top four player on their team. So they're going to have some dark years ahead, I think. But Carolina, um, quite the opposite. They might have had, the steal um, of the day. And there is word that Gensel may be resigning there, maybe a long term contract. Who knows? And again, it's a conditional first. So I don't know what the conditions are on that, but a first round pick, if Carolina goes far, that first round pick is going to be late. It's going to be 25th, maybe 26th overall. So it's a blockbuster of a trade. And I'm sure there's a lot more smart hockey people out there who can analyze it better than me. But yeah, big splash for Carolina.
All right, and as Jersey's big splash for Carolina. All right, we'll move next on to Tuxedo's question. Tuxedo, I'm assuming you're asking about the Flames. How are we feeling, Anand? That's the question from Tuxedo. So I'll chime in and then Jer, I'll segue to you. We have seen five Calgary Flames trades this season so far, like you mentioned at the beginning of this show. Tyler Toffoli, he's now moved on to Winnipeg Jets to play with the Winnipeg Jets. So he reunites with Sean Monahan. Um, Nikita Zadorov was traded for round picks. Elias Lindo was traded to Vancouver for Kuzmenko. He's doing fantastic here. Elias Lindholm, I've been hearing he is not having much of a great season with Vancouver. That he might be on the move again. Maybe I don't know if I heard any update after that regarding him. I think they were planning to trade him, but not sure what happened after. I'll keep an eye out for that. And then we saw Kristanov go to the Dallas Stars, and then recently Noah Hannafin to Las Vegas Golden Knights. One note for from the Noah Hannafin trade is that now we will have their 2026 first round pick instead of 2025, just because Golden Knights made the trade with what you call Thomas Hurtle this afternoon to the San Jose Sharks. So that means we will get Vegas's next 2026 first round pick, and that is unconditional. So people are talking about maybe we can get a Gavin McKenna or Joe Iginla. Those are few high options. So far, I'm pretty impressed with what Craig Conroy has done. He has handled five unrestricted free agencies really well. He has gotten round picks back. Now again, some Flames fans will be not happy because they some of them wanted to trade Marstrom because of the conditions, but again we were not sure how likely it's gonna be. There were gonna be we don't know what the full return was gonna be. We don't know if he wanted to move and all that. So it will be maybe March something might be in the off summer or off season type of trade, just because we saw New Jersey Devils acquiring Jake Allen from Montreal Canadiens, and as well they, I believe they acquired another goaltender from the San Jose Sharks. So two goaltenders for them. They'll be happy with what they have, and then maybe the bigger market opens for Jacob Markstrom in the summer. All right, let's segue it to you, Jer. Now, what do you? How are you feeling with the Flames camp so far, and how they have dealt with the trades and how they're playing right now?
Yeah. Overall, if I were to give it a letter grade for the total body of work, starting from Zadorov through up till the most recent trade, which I believe was kind of a minor trade. I have it here. It was San Jose. I'm going to butcher this name. It's Okotiuk, a defenseman, for a conditional 2024 fifth round pick to the Sharks. But that includes Hannafin, Tanev, Lindholm. I give it an overall B plus. I think some of the trades were good. The Lindholm one, especially, getting Kuzmenko, um, and a 2024 first rounder, conditional 2024 fourth rounder. And then what I think might be the crown jewel of this trade is Hunter Brustewitz. He's a defenseman in the OHL. I believe he was a second round pick, maybe later, but he at the time of the trade, he was leading the OHL in points by a defenseman. And that kind of reminds me a little bit about a Anaheim player. Who am I thinking of? His name escapes me, but Pavel Mintyukov, who led the OHL in points as a defenseman, came up to the NHL and lit the world on fire in the first few months. That's what I think Hunter Brustewitz's ceiling could be. So when it's all said and done, he could be the best player for the Flames in that Lindholm trade. Overall, B plus. I think a lot of people, a lot of fans, and some media were not too satisfied with the Tanev or Hannafin returns. Especially, you just broke the news to me about the first round conditional, how it is guaranteed to be a 2026 now. I think a lot of people wanted a first round pick for Tanev. We got Grushnikov. We got a second rounder this year and a conditional third in 2 years. But I have it written down here. Let me list off basically, and this is not the entire return that Conroy got for the body of work, but he got 5 defensemen: Brustewitz, Yoni Yermo, Grushnikov, Miramanov, and Okodiuk. He got a first round pick, a second round pick, a third round pick, another first, another second, a fourth. Some of those are conditional. So I think Craig Conroy did a really good job in sticking to his mission statement. He wanted to make sure that nobody walked like Johnny Gaudreau. A lot of the players traded: Lindholm, Tanev, Hannafin, are unrestricted free agents, and a lot of them were not going to re-sign. So we got some future assets for them, and you can't really ask for more. He did what he said he was going to do, and I'm happy as a fan with that, with that job.
Yeah, definitely. You have summarized it well, Abhi. Grading, and welcome Mackenzie to the live chat as well. Good to see you. Yeah. Craig Conroy has really stuck with his mission of getting young and making sure to getting these round picks. All right, let's summarize a bit of the trade deadline for you. Let us know if you are in the live chat which trade you have liked the most, which you haven't liked, and we'll do that a bit, and then we'll talk about the Flames team in general, because our local team, Calgary Flames, obviously, and so we have a lot of trades happen. I made a Google sheet. I'm gonna just read it to you. On few of the trades, I don't have the full conditions and the what do you call conditions and the full details, but I can tell you which all teams are, which all players are being moved. So let's start from 2 days ago, from the trade deadline. So that was March 6th. That's when Jacob Movier got an extension from LA Kings, and he re-signed with the LA Kings. Then we saw Alex Wenberg from Seattle Kraken to New York Rangers. Then we saw Casey Middlestad from Buffalo to Colorado. And with that part of this deal, we saw Bowen Byram to Buffalo. So that was one big trade that everybody was talking about
Mm-hmm.
during. They were surprised about. It was a one-on-one deal, from what I heard. Then Sean Walker from Philadelphia went to Colorado, and this one, Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick from Anaheim Ducks went to Edmonton Oilers. And they had Sam Carrick and Adam Henrique debut with the Edmonton Oilers on Thursday, and they lost that one 4-2 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So something to note there. Then we moved on to March 7th. That's when the majority, somebody told Thursday was the biggest day for the trade deadline, and some managers did that. So let's, or was March 7th? Yeah, March 7th was Thursday, yesterday. So Jake Gunsel, Pittsburgh, we talked about that, and Ty Smith to Carolina Hurricanes. We had Michael Bunting, Will Kuvinan, Vasily Ponomorov, and Cruz Lucic to Carolina from Pittsburgh, or to Pittsburgh from Carolina. We talked about that. We had Jack Thompson from Tampa Bay Lightning to San Jose Sharks. So Tampa Bay Lightning, a decent playoff team, get giving a player to San Jose Sharks probably will give some depth to the Tampa Bay Lightning and San Jose Sharks probably. Um, and we can see already that San Jose Sharks have made a few moves. Um, Oh yeah, for talking about Calgary Flames, we need to talk about this one. Emilio Peterson from the Calgary Wranglers were traded to Dallas Stars in exchange for Riley Damiani. My question for you, Jer, do you know about Damiani and Emilio Peterson? Your thoughts on that minor trade?
So I know of Emilio Peterson just because he's been in the system. I believe we did draft him, or at least you hear about him playing for the Wranglers. I don't know a thing about who they got in return, but I looked at their hockey DBs, and they do kind of seem like two career AHLers. Their ceiling might be a fourth line or bottom pairing defense call up, maybe a seventh defenseman, 13th forward. I think it's more impactful for the Wranglers as opposed to the Flames. And it was Conroy, or more likely his assistant GMs, trying to help the Wranglers. As you mentioned, they are competing for a playoff position. Is that right?
Yeah, I can check that for you, but they do know they can go into the playoffs.
Hmm.
and that's why Jacob Pelche and Mac Renato was
Yes.
assigned to the AHL team for a bit. Let me see if I can find that standings for you, but I'll let you continue. So,
Yeah.
Calgary
So
Wranglers. Okay, I got some information. So they rank now fifth in the current regular standing. They have played 54 games, 29 wins, 19 losses, four overtime losses, and 64 points. So they are tied with Ontario Reign, who is one. What they call standing ahead of them. So I believe the Wranglers they play. When do they play next? They play.
yeah, I
Uh,
think one thing that gets lost on some people following the NHL trade deadline is that a lot of AHL deals are made on this day as well. A lot of these players that are moved, a lot of the players that Calgary acquired, a lot of these five defensemen that we acquired, Yoni Yermo, Grushnikov, Miramanov, they will be playing in the AHL before they come up to the Flames. Actually, I did recall seeing that Grushnikov might be in our lineup.
yeah, Grushnikov already is in the Wranglers, and Merimano will actually debut for the Flames tomorrow when they are playing the
Oh, beautiful.
Floridas. So
Beautiful, yeah, and so you gotta think these guys are some of them. Well, the guys that the Flames got are all a bit younger, so they are still on the up and up. They are still considered prospects. Um, so it could be exciting for them to come to Calgary. One of the interesting things about Calgary's entire organization is all teams play in Calgary. That's not the case for a lot of NHL teams. Their AHL affiliate might be a different time zone over. Um, the Ontario Reign is in Ontario, California, but the big team is in Los Angeles, and I'm not sure on geography, but it's not the same city. So it does affect the AHL quite a bit, but it doesn't get nearly as much media coverage as the NHL trades.
yeah, so right now looking, Ontario Reign is scheduled to play against the Calgary Wranglers on March 10th, which is 2 days from now. So that would be a Sunday and a Monday. They're playing right here at home at Scotiabank Saddle Dome. So those two games will be most important wins for Calgary Wranglers. And if they can secure, like I said, they are right now fifth place in the standings, regular season standings. I think if I'm assuming correctly, the first four teams qualify for the playoffs. So hopefully, that's the two games that the Calgary Wranglers will be focused on. And like we said, we might have seen Nikita Okitok, the new player that we got this afternoon. He might go to the Wranglers. We'll see if that happens. Grushnikov is with them. And Emilio Peterson, we got Riley Damiani. We'll see if he gets a debut tomorrow. So a lot of Wrangler pieces coming out of this trade. Definitely, like you said, now. But one thing we can confirm, though, Merimano will make a debut tomorrow with the Flames actually
Mm-hmm.
at 2 p.m. when they're playing the Florida Panthers against Matthew Kachuk and Joel Hanley. I don't know if you saw his game on Thursday against Tampa Bay Lightning, but he got his first point as a Calgary Flames member. So that's good. So the team definitely is gelling up. A lot of good energy within the team. Lot of good things to like. So yeah, I like the way this is trending, and I think Conroy has done an excellent job with the trade so far. Um, yeah, we'll need to see what comes next in the off season. Oh yeah, another bit of news for the Calgary Flames is that they have extended and re-signed Kevin Rooney for a one-season deal, so he'll be with the Flames a little bit more longer. And yeah, so let's segue it into the current Flames roster. Jer, I'll start with you first. What have you liked so far with the team overall so far?
Um, it's really interesting. This team is so different than Game One. where we had so many players that are not here anymore. Zadorov, who was a fan favorite, Lindholm, who the fans liked but maybe kind of grew sour on, and then all the uncertainty around Markstrom, Tanev, Hanifin, etc. In general, I think the team has played to expectations other than Huberdeau, but Huberdeau is roughly 1 point per game since January 1st. So in 2024, he's about a point per game, which in my opinion is what his potential is. He's not going to be a 115-point player like he was the 1 year. He's essentially a point per game player. I'm looking at what Daily Faceoff has as the lineup now, and this looks like it was put in a complete blender. Keep in mind that Zary is on the injured list, Pospisil is suspended, Greer is injured, and so our lines look like Huberdeau, Sharangovich, Coronado, Peltier, Kadri, Kuzmenko. And then third line, you have the Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman, which has been a fairly solid and consistent line all year. And then our fourth line, Kevin Rooney, who I think you just said re-signed for another year, which you need, solid guys on the fourth line. Dryden Hunt, who had a nice goal last night against Tampa, and Walker Duer. I'm not too sure. Like, they didn't blow me away. They're meeting expectations. I love that we kept Markstrom first and foremost. I know that there's a lot of chatter about should we trade him? He's playing really well. We can maximize the asset. But a number one bona fide goalie is, in my opinion, the hardest position to find on a team. Ask Edmonton, ask Toronto, ask Los Angeles. They're all playoff teams. They're all good playoff teams, but they don't really have a number one goalie. They kind of cycle in and out and play the hot hand. With the Flames, Markstrom this year, in my opinion, is a top 10 goalie in the league. And in my opinion, we should keep him through till the end of his contract, which would include next year. Realistically, that probably won't happen. But yeah, overall, I'm satisfied. They're exciting to watch. I love Sharon Govich. Kadri has been quietly consistent and productive. And generally, with Kadri, if you don't hear about him, that's a good thing. Because if you do hear about him, he's getting suspended. He had that problem in the playoffs to begin his career where he had a streak of something like 4 playoffs in a row. He'd get a suspension for a bad hit. At this point, we don't have a AAA player. We thought Huberdeau would be that. He isn't. And so now we're in a bit of a transitional period where some fans want to tank. Some fans want to maybe sneak into a wild card and see what happens. You never know with a good goalie. So it can be a little bit frustrating. Where do we go? We're not going to get a high draft pick. It will be between 10 and 20, unless we win the lottery, which is not likely. So yeah, it's kind of a nothing answer, but it's a nothing answer for a team that I don't quite know what they are. They're just kind of middling. They're a team full of second and third liners, I would say. And how about yourself? Like, what is your overall temperature on this team? Do you like the direction that they're going in? Are you happy with this kind of rebuild that Conroy's done?
You know, that's a good question because this is my second-ish full season following the Calgary Flames as a fan. I know the past era with like Jerome McGinley, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Kachuk. That was the elite team, but now we don't have that elite team. On some days, how they play, let's say for example, just taking as an example, the game we played against San Jose Sharks when we lost 6-3, and then you come and beat a top team like Tampa Bay Lightning 6-3, or even we beat Boston Bruins, Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Penguins. On those days, I leave myself thinking, what kind of team is this? You can't beat the lower easy team. I mean, you cannot even now say the lower teams are easier if they can beat us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is their goal? What are they trying to achieve? That's a whole different question. Like, sometimes the team has totally surprised me, but right now with the way they are going younger, and Craig Conroy has a direction. He knows what he needs to do. And like you said earlier at the beginning of the show, he didn't let some of our unrestricted free agencies walk away just simply like that. He got draft picks in return, and he did get a couple roster players, for example, Kuzmenko. So yeah, definitely no identity for the team is how I would say. Yesterday, I asked Pat Steinberg this question on Flames Talk post game. How would he describe the team in one word? And he said plucky. So plucky is where you really surprise the fans. You don't go away, you don't shy away, but you come back, fight, and then on some days you show that off mode and you don't win those games. So definitely
Mm-hmm.
each time has a tough night for sure, but then again the team is streaky, they're kind of in the middle like you're saying. So it's all of a juggle. We don't know where the team ends. Right now it might be with like 18 to 20 games left in the season, it might be too late to fully tank. uh, and Jacob Marshall is keeping us in the game. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of mix of conflicting thoughts and mindsets in the Flames fan base here. I don't know if you have seen the trend that went around all Twitter. People changing their profile pictures to green M&M to do trade Marstrom. Those kind of things is what really makes me undecided. I don't know which stance to take, because once again, like I said, each day the Flames are a different team. Sometimes they start, so these are the things we have seen so far. Basically, a roller coaster. Some games they start well, and then they end poorly. Some games they don't start well and they come back third periods. Some days they start well and play the whole 60 minutes. So we don't know. We just don't know what this team is capable of. And sometimes they put on a winning streak, but then again they don't catch up any ground on the wildcard spot. So there are things like that that makes you wonder what this team is all about and what they can achieve in the long run. So that's my stance on that.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'd like to bring up to you, this is kind of interesting looking at the schedule, is our next four games are against the four teams that probably made the biggest splash at the trade deadline. So we have Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, Colorado Avalanche, and Vegas Golden Knights. Now, we haven't talked about this trade yet, and this is a sneaky one that I really like, is Florida picked up Vladimir Tarasenko from Ottawa. And I believe the return was not like that pricey. It was a conditional fourth round pick and then a third round pick. That is a bit of a salary dump for Tarasenko. I'm not sure how many years he has left. This might be his final year on the contract. But Tarasenko, he's fallen off a little bit, but he's a former 40 goal scorer for the St. Louis Blues a few years ago. And you put him on a line with Matthew Tkachuk or um, uh, uh, Barkov, and he could score, at an alarming rate if he's with the right line mates. I just don't think he was in the right spot in Ottawa, but that could be a very sneaky pickup for Florida, who did make the Cup final last year. They didn't get rid of any substantial roster players, so all they did was get better. And obviously, as we discussed, Vegas really loaded up with Hannafin and Hurdle. Colorado got Middlestat, who is kind of having a breakout year this year. He was, a highly touted rookie, underperformed, but kind of finding it this year. And then obviously Carolina with Gensel. So that'll be really interesting. It's four really good teams. All expect to make the Cup Finals, but only two teams can win the Cup final or can make the Cup final. And as Brian Burke, former GM of the Flames, famously said once, there's 32 teams and only one Stanley Cup. So you have to weigh, they're a good team, but they've shaken up their roster. How long will it take those teams to kind of find their new chemistry with their new impact players who will be playing on the first line? Could be sneaky, like you mentioned. We play really well against good teams. We beat Tampa, we beat LA, we beat Edmonton, beat Boston, beat Winnipeg. These are four really good teams. I think the Flames could be sneaky here, and despite losing Hannafin and Tanev, they could really surprise some of these teams just out of stability.
Yeah, the only concern would be two factors right now for the Flames. Saturday and Sunday. So first of all, it's going to be a back-to-back game. Florida and Carolina Hurricanes. That's one spot we struggle. Back-to-back game, we win one, we sometimes lose one. We'll see what happens. All good vibes though, heading into the game to see what the new lines will look like. The expectation is, I believe, Miramano plays with Shillington. Pahal sticks with Joe Hanley, and Uyghur and Anderson sticks together. I think that might be the deep pairing going in.
Mm-hmm.
Uyghur and Anderson has been seen significant amount of ice time. We'll see what Mirmanov and Joel Hanley can give us. Shillington has been impressive ever since his return, putting 2 goals in back to back games. So we'll see if he can pot in another one. Um, and another thing to notice as well, matinee game that is, it's 2 p.m. on Saturday. So Flames fans, those who are watching, the 74 of you on the Twitter stream and YouTube stream, 2 of you. Um, it's going to be a 2 p.m. game on Saturday against the Florida Panthers. And then a Sunday game is at 3 p.m. against the Carolina Hurricanes. So back to back and matinee games for the Flames. Then they go to Colorado to face the Colorado Avalanche. And then we are back to the Saddle Dome to face the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday. And that one is going to be interesting. Jer, my question for you, I'm going to segue a question into this one. Do you think the fans will boo Noah Hannafin when it comes to Calgary with the Vegas Golden Knights? I've seen conflicting things on that one as well.
My initial reaction is no, but I read something or I read some social media post the other day and I was quite baffled at it because I didn't know that some Flames fans felt this way, but they were not kind to Hannafin. And this was before he was traded. The trade wasn't even announced. We had no idea he was going to Vegas. And a lot of Flames fans were trashing him, and I don't quite know why. Is it because he announced he didn't want to re sign? Sure, but you can't fault a guy for wanting to play in his home country. Johnny Gaudreau did it. Um, we were the beneficiary of that back when we had Travis Hamonic, who wanted to play in the Western time zone, or like a Western time zone, in the Mountain time zone, when he came here from the Islanders. And it just happens in the NHL, right? Patrick Kane wanted to play close to home, so we went to Detroit. So if it were me in the dome, I'd be clapping, I'd be cheering. I think it might be a mixed review, mixed reaction for Hannafin. You will get those fans who feel slighted, they feel bitter, they wanted him to extend, they felt like he was like a franchise pillar or cornerstone, but I never really viewed him as that. I always viewed him as the number 3 defenseman, even maybe number 4 defenseman behind Tanev, Uyghur, and Anderson. So yeah, it's going to be mixed. It's not going to be like Johnny Gaudreau where the entire building is just booing him. It's not going to be like Jerome McGinley where the entire building is cheering him. It'll be somewhere in the middle. I hope the fans cheer him and they thank him for his great couple of years with us because they were solid. And when he got here, if you recall, we traded Dougie Hamilton for him, I believe, who I believe wanted out or was a bit of a problem. And he did nothing but embrace the city, embrace the fans, and played well for us. And I hope the fans remember that when we play Vegas. But who's to say? The crowd can be unpredictable, especially after a trade deadline, especially with the shock of losing so many impact players. There just might be that bitter, sour, negative taste in people's mouth. So we'll see.
Yeah, just the booing segue came into it's because one of the insiders came out and said it's mainly because Noah Hannafin and his agent were kind of hijacking the Calgary Flames to that he wanted to specifically move to a team, and he will only stay go to that team, and that might have kind of lowered the opportunity for Craig Conroy to strike early. I think they were adamant on
Mm-hmm.
which team Hannafin wants to go to. So I think that's where the booing part came in. But yeah, definitely it's going to be interesting to see when Vegas Golden Knights come to Saddle Dome. All right, let's do a quick look ahead for you, for Flames fans, for those who are watching. Just give you a bit on the schedule update, and maybe let's do some predictions as well. We like to do that on our show. So if you are listening live, our YouTube live chat is open if you want to come and give us some score predictions, or Twitter lines are open as well to give us score predictions. So we are playing the Florida Panthers on Saturday at 2 p.m. On Sunday, we are playing Carolina Hurricanes at 3 p.m. This is all Calgary time. I'll convert them to Eastern time as well. So, Jer, so you can follow along as well because you are in Toronto right now. So, that would be a 4 p.m. start for the Calgary Flames on Saturday against Florida Panthers in Eastern time. On Sunday, it will be a 5 p.m. start for Carolina Hurricanes against the Flames. Then we have a 7:30 p.m. start. That's going to be a late one on on Tuesday against the Colorado Avalanche. So that will be a 7:30 means 9:30 Eastern time, and then on Thursday when we come back to the Saddle Dome, it will be a 7 p.m. match. Or do we? Oh, actually, we are inviting Colorado to the Saddle Dome. So
That's right.
it's that's why it's such a late game. So it will be a 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then a 9 p.m. Eastern time for Golden Knights. So let's get us predictions. So Jer, either if you want to say it out loud, put it in the chat. Let's do some score predictions, and maybe who will score first for the Flames on each of these matches. So let's start with
Ooh.
Florida Panthers first. Your score prediction um and yeah, who do you think might score first on the event against Florida Panthers?
So the Flames have this nasty habit of, or maybe not a habit, but in the past, a former Flames player usually does well against the Flames, be it Tyler Toffoli, Nikita Zadorov, whomever. These are tough games, and I won't pick who's going to win which game, but I will say the Flames will go 2-2. 2 wins, 2 losses. As for who's going to win which game, I'm not sure. Florida's a good team. And so I'm going to go off the board here. Matthew Tkachuk is going to get the first goal in the Florida Calgary game just because he is, I believe, I don't know if it's still valid, but about a week or two ago, he was the highest scoring player since January 1st. More than McDavid, more than Kucherov, more than McKinnon, more than Matthews. Kachuk's been on an absolute heater since the turn of the new year. So he's going to score first. First Flames goal, I got to go with my guy, Yegor Sharangovich, who's quickly becoming my favorite player on the team. I love this kid. He's going to score 30, absolutely. Or 30 or 40. My mind is escaping me. It's been a long day. But he's going to get to that milestone. He's ridiculous with his finish, his shot, just being sneaky, finding the holes, and getting himself open to oftentimes put in like an empty net goal or be completely undefended. So first goal, Kachuk. First Flames goal, Sharangovich. And it's hard for me to pick a winner, pick a score. I'll throw it out there. Both have great goalies, Markstrom and Bobrovsky. So I'll say it'll be low scoring, maybe a 3-2 game for Florida. And as for next game is Carolina. Yes, Carolina. Carolina's a bit of a fraud. They have no goalie. They have Freddie Anderson, who's perpetually hurt. They have Pyotr Kochetkov and Antti Ranta, who's also perpetually hurt. That's kind of
Talking
their
about Renata, I believe I saw he's been sent on waivers already, so he may
that
not be
makes
with
sense.
the
Yeah, that
he's
makes
not with the
sense.
team.
And how about this? How about this for a first goal for Carolina? Their new acquisition, Jake Gensel. He's going to make an impact. I think he's going to be really good for them, especially in the playoffs. So he might score first. Remember, Markstrom is maybe his Achilles heel is letting in the first goal, and then he kind of buttons it up and locks it down for the rest of the game. So I think the Flames let in the first goal, but Carolina, I think that's a winnable game. It's an afternoon game. Same with Florida. Afternoon on the East Coast, which is not that bad. How would that work? It would be if it's 5 p.m. there, it would be 3 p.m. by their body clock. So it is a real, it's an adjustment for a Western team going east with these early afternoon games. There are such toss-ups, there are such wild cards, but I'm hoping for a Flames win. Like I said, 2-2. I think the Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights do defeat them, but I think I think they're going to roll off of this Lightning win, which is a massive statement win against one of the best goalies in the league. They put 6 up on him, Vasilevsky, that is. So yeah, I think they're going to beat the Panthers, beat the Hurricanes. But it'll be tough. It'll be tough. And Markstrom is going to have to play well if we're going to win any of these. And again, for a Flames first goal, let's go Yegor Sharangovich for both of them, just because I love that kid so much.
Yeah, Yegor Sharangovich, I think he when I was watching yesterday's Tampa Bay Lightning team, I think he's almost equaling Blake Coleman's record of I think 25 goals. So you can easily put him on pace for 30 goals or even 40 goals. Let's see. That might be a true good milestone. Yeah, and he put also in game high of 4 points yesterday with 2 goals and 2 assists, I believe. So Yegor Sharangovich, I like him. I like everything of him. He's the Lego man. He's the Sharky.
Oh
He's
yeah,
Shark Attack. Everything about
great
him.
nickname. Great. It's not Sherry or Sharzy or whatever. Kind of these low effort nicknames. Sharky or the Shark. I love that nickname,
Yeah,
and I love
definitely.
Lego too. Like who doesn't love Lego? So what's not to love about Sharon Govich, right?
Yeah. And then we have Blake Coleman, who's the Texas Tiger. That's a good fun name.
Oh yeah,
But he had Pickles also, but I think Pickles now owns to Braden Pahal. I think somebody named him Pickles from somewhere, another defenseman we got off waiver. So that will be fun. Yeah,
yeah.
good score predictions. We'll see what happens. Um, my guess is okay. Here is my guess. Okay, so they
Okay.
beat Florida on Saturday because they're a good team. Then they might drop the ball on Sunday against Carolina Hurricanes. Just saying, and then they come back and beat Colorado and Vegas Golden Knights. So I see probably a 3-2, no 3-1 stretch for the Flames here. We are talking about Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, Avalanche, Golden Knights. Just the trend we have been seeing. And unfortunately, I won't be able to watch the Florida Panthers Saturday game live. I'll be at work, unfortunately. So look on the Twitter X stream that we have available to us to check score updates, and then I'll be able to hopefully watch the Hurricanes game, Avalanche, and then Golden Knights. All right, as we begin to wrap up the show, a few final points that we want to hit. Maybe first point would be, when would you think is an ideal time to start giving Dustin Wolf NHL time? Does that
Mm.
mean is I know the trade deadline is already passed, but my question to you: when do we? So let's say, do we rest a goaltender for a bit and then give Wolf some NHL time? I don't know if that's legally possible, but when is the earliest or the latest that we should see start giving Dustin Wolf NHL time? Let's ask you that, if it's not a bit of a difficult question and I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you're definitely not putting me on the spot, and it's a great question. It's been the question that's been plaguing this team all year. Now, I'm a bit extreme in this belief, but once we are officially, no, if we are officially eliminated from the playoffs, because I firmly believe they should still go for a wild card. You never know what can happen with a good goalie. But if they get eliminated mathematically from the playoffs, give Wolf every 2 out of 3 games and let Markstrom have every 1 out of 3. He's likely gone in the summer anyways. So you're not gonna like make him angry, or well, you might make him angry because he loves to play. He's got that kind of Kippersoft mentality. But yeah, if, in the final 10 games of the year, give Dustin Wolf 6 or 7 of those games and get him acclimatized to playing back to backs or playing 3 out of every 4 games or something like that. As for this weekend with the back to back, it's likely going to be Markstrom and then Vladar, or Vladar then Markstrom. I think you might see Vladar in Carolina. Markstrom starts at Florida tomorrow, Vladar on Sunday. That's my assumption. But Wolf, it's really hard with the 3 goalies. There's only 2 or 3 teams in the league that's run with 3 goalies all year, one of them being Montreal, and they just got rid of their third in a trade to New Jersey today. As for right now, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, the Wranglers are gunning for a playoff spot, and they could really use Dustin Wolf to backstop them. And it's not that he's a guaranteed victory, but he gives them a very good chance to win every game that he starts. So keep him down there. I know he is better than an AHL goalie. His performance in the NHL has been so. It's been about as expected for a rookie goaltender, a young kid. What is he, 20, 21, 22 years old? Goalies typically don't hit their prime until they're in their late 20s. But yeah, at the end of the year, give him as much ice time. Treat him as the starter. Give him as much ice time as he wants, just to kind of maybe get used to a hybrid role next year where he will be playing half the games, split with, I assume, Vladar, assuming that Markstrom goes in the summer, which he probably will. As for this weekend, don't worry about Wolf, or these next 4 games, don't worry about Wolf. Ride Markstrom, ride Vladar, and then reevaluate once we hit late March, and yeah, give Wolf all the time he wants, because I do believe like he's not going to be Martin Brodeur or Mika Kiprusoff, but he could be a good solid starter for us. He just needs the reps, and there's no better time to give a young guy the reps than when you're mathematically eliminated and there's really no stakes in the game, and guys play a little bit looser. They're not as tense. They're not as nervous about making a mistake because it's inconsequential. In fact, if we do get eliminated, it's almost better to lose because that, gets us a better draft pick. But yeah, Wolf at the end of the year, but for right now, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
All right, that's well said. And my final question for you, let's talk about two types of players. One, who would you give an award to as an MVP of the season for the Flames team? And my second question's, who could you think, or who would you think can improve the season? So one MVP, one player that can improve this season. We'll start with you, Jer, and then I'll give my take.
So, just to clarify your second question, a player who could improve upon his performance, like maybe
Yeah.
going into next year? Okay, yeah. Well, the MVP is obviously Markstrom. We would be a bottom 5 team without him. Um, a sneaky one I want to throw in there, a guy that I brought up earlier. When you don't hear about him, that's a good thing, is Nazem Kadri. He's played on that Zeri and Pospisil line pretty much all year, and they've been amazing. They've been a staple. There's been a lot of stability there. Nazem Kadri, and you saw his goal the other day. It was amazing where he took the puck end to end, beat Letang on the outside, who's a good defenseman, goes cross crease and puts it in. Just unreal. So Kadri, in terms of skaters, forwards, Kadri's been kind of the MVP, the quiet MVP, but Markstrom obviously. As for a player who can improve, if you ask yourself this or any of your other guests this or myself, it's obviously Huberdeau a few months ago. He's been better now, quietly better. Somebody I do want to see more out of is Kuzmenko. He scored those couple of goals when he first got here, but he is a massive liability on the defensive end, so you can't really trust him defensively. Moving into next year, if he can score 30, 35 goals like he did in Vancouver, then sure, let him allow a couple of goals on a shift. Let him have a couple of bad defensive shifts because you know he's going to go out there and score, and that's what we need. Looking at his stats the other day, he has kind of slowed down a little bit. He's been benched a few times by Huska, so I think Kuzmenko next year. And it is always tough to uproot your life and move to a new city in the middle of the year. You're on a playoff team getting no ice time. Now you're on a non-playoff team getting a lot of ice time. It's a lot of turmoil for him. So next year, with a solid training camp, with the same coaching staff, with the same core players, I really expect Kuzmenko to improve next year.
All right, that is your two picks. MVP, Jacob Marsham, and Nazim Kadri as an underground MVP. And then we have Kuzmenko who can possibly perform. Okay, here is mine.
Okay.
So I'm going to say MVP is going to go to Blake Coleman on
I
how
like
he
that.
has been a great leader. I know his scoring has dropped off a bit in the recent past games, but he still has netted a few. But he has been that sneaky leader that has shown the team can perform. He solidifies the line very well when Michael Backlund and Manjapane. So he looks fantastic. So Blake Coleman will be my MVP, Texas Tiger. And for somebody who can improve, so this is not like a bad hit on him or bad take on him, but I feel like Martin Pospisil needs some improvement. I know he likes going and hitting those players, but I want him to focus on not hitting too much, and that's how he landed on the suspension for 3 games. I want him to realize that hits and being physical is good. It brings up the team up energy, but some of these bad hits, as we saw against Seattle Kraken, that is not needed. That's something he can
Mm-hmm.
improve. Hopefully, he went back and watched those videos to let him know himself that we don't want aggressive hits. We just want calm hits. Shake off the defender a bit, but don't create massive situations. So yeah, that would be. I mean, he's performing well with the goals and how great he has been. But again, just how to improve. Don't get those nasty hits in. All right, we are going to conclude the show. It's been almost an hour. Thanks to the 86 people who have joined us this afternoon. It was a pleasure to have you, Jer, and talk about the NHL trade deadline, the Flames, and everything on what has this season been all about. Jer, where can people find you? What do you do? Promote yourself. This is your opportunity to do that. And then I'll talk about mine a little bit where you can find me. So I'll start with you, Jer. Do you do any fun projects with hockey? Anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, thank you, Anand, and always love being a guest on your podcast. If you want to follow my work, I don't do this full time. It's just a passion play, a hobby. But right here at Advanced Snacks on Twitter, I just like throwing out kind of campy, fun stuff. I'm not like those hardcore stats guys who get right into the nitty gritty. I just like throwing out fun stuff or maybe intriguing or thoughts that come to my mind. So yeah, Advanced Snacks on Twitter, and yeah, look forward to engaging with the fans and chit chatting flames with you in the future. Yeah, so thank you, Anand.
Yeah, obviously we'll be happy to have Jer back on in the show. But you can find us. I am available on a few different platforms as well. I'm available on TikTok at CJY underscore Anand. Same handles everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even Blue Sky, and even Threads. So wherever you can find me, go ahead and find me. We also started writing a blog. You can visit us at talkwithanand.wordpress.com. I recently talked about the win last night against Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll have an article soon about the trade deadline, the trades Flames made. And finally, if you want to check out, I also started writing and being a contributor for Flames for Thought. That's my new platform of writing. So come check out my first article I wrote about Daniel Miramanov. Oh yeah, one question, one thought about Daniel Miramanov. I don't know if you have heard Jer, but Daniel Miramanov used to be a forward before, a winger
Yeah,
before, and transferred into being a defenseman. I asked this question to Pat Steinberg yesterday because I had to. He's not a fan of basically players transitioning from a forward to a defense or a defense to forward. Let's hear your one final thought on that. Daniel Mermanov transferring from a winger to a defense. Does it usually work in the NHL or even the hockey system? Let's hear your thoughts. I know it's kind of possible in the soccer and cricket aspect. You kind of have to learn both, but does it work in hockey? Let's ask you that.
absolutely it does. And we're going to see a guy on Sunday, goes by the name of Brent Burns. He's a future Hall of Famer. He started as a forward, and now he's a defenseman. Another guy, the Winnipeg Jets fans will know him well, Dustin Bufflin, started as a forward, went to defense. Not quite a Hall of Famer, but he was an absolute force. If you haven't already, just go watch some Dustin Bufflin hits and goals highlights on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. This guy was like a Mack truck, 6'4", 270 pounds, destroying people. So yes, it can absolutely be done. Will Miramanov be that? No. He is listed at 6'4", 207, so he's a big guy, very long reach. And the interesting thing about moving from forward to defense is that you start with that offensive mindset, that offensive skill, and you don't lose that. You take that with you to defense, as opposed to going the other way. You don't see it the other way. You don't see defensemen become forwards very often at all, but forwards will become defensemen not often, but it can happen. So yes, absolutely. And another one, I'll just throw it out there. Everybody knows who it is. Paul Biznasty Bizanet started as a forward. It started as a defenseman, actually, became a forward, became a fighter, was lousy, but he's making his way in the NHL media sphere and is arguably the most popular NHL media personality in the world right now. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Miramanov can do. And fun fact, the man who convinced him to do this, to transition to defense, was a legendary Russian player by the name of Igor Larionov. He played for the Detroit Red Wings in the 90s, won multiple Stanley Cups with them. I think he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, may or may not be, but if he's not, he's right there. So he had kind of a heart to heart with this Russian legend, Miramanov being Russian himself from Moscow. So yes, it absolutely can be done, and I'm really excited for this guy. Amongst all the defensive prospects we picked up, Hunter Brustowitz, Yermo, Grushnikov, Miramanov, and Okodiuk. I like Brustowitz, but he's young. Miramanov, he's 26, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. And he's jumping right into the pro league for us. He's not going to be playing in the minors, so really excited to see what he can do as a defenseman.
And you can see him play in the NHL League right away tomorrow at 2 p.m. against the Florida Panthers, 4 p.m. for those Eastern timers, 1 p.m. for if you're in Pacific time zone, and 2 p.m. if you're in Calgary. So that's it, hockey fans. Tomorrow 2 p.m. game. I might cover some post game tomorrow. Let's see, because I may not be able to talk to A Pat Steinberg, and B I won't be able to watch the game. So I might come and do a live post game. We'll think about it if I'm not tired from work. That's another topic. But back to back games for Calgary Flames. So few hockey action to watch with all these new players and stuff after the NHL trade deadline, and that has been your coverage. Thanks for joining us, Jer. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you for more than an hour on Flames hockey and much more. And this has been Talk with Anand, episode number 33. I'm signing off. Have a great, safe evening. Have a great weekend. And yeah, go Flames, go.